Hey YouTube, just wanted to update you on my progress with the rehabilitation of my ruptured Achilles. Ruptured it just over 2 weeks ago and have made some good progress this week. So if you want to hear the backstory in terms of like how I did it and everything else, just remember I think you can see the first video up here somewhere. So go back and catch up on that. But yeah, for the first 2 weeks, I was wearing an Equinus cast. So that's where this is my good leg, and that the cast was coming down the front of my leg and just keeping my foot in this kind of position where the foot was pointing down to take off the pressure on the Achilles itself. The back of the leg was sort of like strapped, but the cast was all along the front. So I had that on for 2 weeks, and it was like full sort of like no weight bearing. So just hobbling around on crutches and on the knee scooter, which you can see just at the back there of the screen. And yeah, went into my hospital, NHS hospital, a couple of days ago, and saw an orthopedic consultant who cut the cast off and did an inspection. Got to say, I don't have the prettiest feet, but man, this foot is pretty ugly at the minute. Really sort of bruised and swollen, and a bit funky in terms of having been in the cast for a couple of weeks. So he cut it off and did the Thompson test. So the classic kind of like kneel on the chair or lie on the bed, and I'm gonna squeeze your calf, and when I do that, your foot should start to point down. Of course, my foot just sits there, and if you've got a ruptured Achilles, it'll do the same thing. So yep, he's confirmed that it's ruptured, and then he started trying to identify where it's ruptured, and just doing that by poking around and sort of like seeing where is sensitive. So from what I gather, a lot of ruptures happen quite low down. So if you think the tendon is a cord which is linking muscle and bone, so it's really it's linking your calf to your heel. And a lot of ruptures happen at sort of like closer to where the tendon attaches to the heel. So one risk is that when it snaps, because of the force of the snap and sort of like the internal pressure that happens, it can pull off bone fragments from the heel, and that can cause or lead to complications with recovery. So he was going to do an X-ray, but then he was poking around, and he saw where the tear is, or where the rupture is. And for me, it's quite high up, so it's where the tendon joins to the calf itself. It's right up there. It's about 1 centimeter in length, probably a little bit longer. You can visually you can see it, which is a bit weird. It's just like an indentation, and it's just softer than the rest than the rest of the back of the leg, kind of thing, because there's nothing there. So what is interesting is that, and just to show you, I guess, in terms of a lot of them happen down here where it joins. Just mine's like further up here where it's joining my calf. I asked about, well, if it hasn't done any damage in terms of pulling off bone fragment, if it wouldn't have done that because it's higher up, is there some damage, potentially some damage to my calf? There could be. They don't know without doing a scan, but really that's probably just going to heal itself by the time the Achilles fixes itself. So we spoke about different treatment options, and I said, look, I want to take a conservative route, keen to sort of like go non-operative, unless there's something that is going to sort of like have a detrimental impact to my quality of life and my my final sort of like fully healed outcome. So he was pretty cool with it. We had a discussion around the pros and cons, and really being sort of 2 weeks into the recovery process, if I was to have an operation, it would mean going back to zero and resetting the recovery. And if you think it would be unlikely that within the NHS that they would just put me under straight away, no doubt you'd have to wait a couple of weeks. So really, I'd only want to do it if there was going to be a really sort of like detrimental difference in outcome, which I'm confident that I'm going to be able to recover to the same kind of standards as if I had had operation. What was interesting is that we were discussing it, and I got the sense that if I had have said to him, I do want an operation, I'm really concerned, and I think that's the best treatment for me. I think he would have said, yeah, let's do it, kind of thing. He was definitely interested in what my opinion was, and I think the fact that I'd read up on it and I could sort of like have a conversation with him about it. He said that I was more more well informed than some junior doctors that they have, and I don't know if that's just talking rubbish or whatever, but it definitely pays to sort of like read up about it, so you can have you can have a fairly informed discussion with them about it. So going non-operative, the treatment plan is to put me into a boot. So I've got this boot on now. I've got this for 6 weeks. And inside the boot, if I take it off, actually, I'll give you guys a look. Inside the boot, there's 3 wedges in the heel, and each wedge is a centimetre high. And what they do is keep my foot pointed down, just to take off any pressure from the Achilles, and help me from just making sure that I don't flex my foot up. So if this is me sort of taking it off, so then if I get in there and give you a look, I don't know if that's going to sort of like work out very well, but you can see, you should be able to see the 3 sort of like wedges in there. And the idea is that every 2 weeks I'm to take out one of the wedges myself, and then just wear it for another 2 weeks, and then take out another wedge until I've got no wedges left. And then I go back into the NHS trust, into the hospital, and they'll take the boot off and have a look and do a bit of an assessment. So I was quite shocked by this, to be honest, because basically they're saying, here's the boot, we'll fit it, and then you'll come back in 6 weeks. And for me, I kind of expected to be into the hospital every couple of weeks and just get a checkup on how my progress was going and things. So really surprised when they said, here's the boot. So when they were fitting it, it was really uncomfortable, something that I wasn't expecting. I thought, yeah, I'm going to be in a boot, it's going to be so much better. But with my foot having sort of, been pointed down quite a bit in the cast, it was a big shift moving it to less of an angle to go into the boot. It was quite painful and very uncomfortable. And I think that psychologically, I thought the boot was going to be awesome. And it took a day and a half to feel comfortable in there. And I guess a top tip would be, if you are in a cast and you're moving to a boot, be prepared that it's going to take a day to get used to it, and it's not going to be like an instant sort of like big boost. Although now that I've had it for 2 days, it's much better than what the cast was, and the being able to take it off every now and then and stuff is way better. I can still only sort of like partially weight bear with it, so I'm like hobbling around. It's a bit uncomfortable, sort of like standing on it and walking on it. I just want to take it really easy. So I think that over the next few days, my confidence and sort of just the strength of the foot and everything else is going to sort of like come back a bit, and I think that I'll be able to sort of like get around much more sort of freely. But for now, I'm on the crutches, and I'm still on the knee scooter, which is has really paid dividends having that. So what else has been happening? I think that because I was so shocked with the 6 week kind of like come back and see us sort of piece, I've booked myself in with a private hospital around the corner. Fortunate in the sense that there's one really close by, but also I'm covered from like a work insurance perspective, so I don't have to pay anything apart from a small excess. So I'm going to do that. Realistically, the orthopedic consultant that I'll see there in a couple of days is, he's going to work for the NHS. That's what they all do. They'll work for the NHS like 4 days a week, and then they'll spend a day doing private treatments and seeing private patients. So, really, I expect the treatment plan will stay the same. It's just to get a second opinion, and of course, if I'm paying per visit or if my insurance is paying per visit, I've got no doubt that they'll want to see me more frequently than once every 6 weeks. So it'll be good to sort of just get some checkups and sort of like see how we're going. I'd also like to get a scan at some stage and sort of like see the damage and see what's going on, better understand it. So I dare say that they'll want to do that at the private hospital. So yeah, I'll keep you posted on sort of my recovery and how things are going. But yeah, I'm pretty positive with where it's going, and feeling much better than what I was last week. And I'm resigned to the fact to wearing a boot for 6 weeks. It seems like a long time, but I think if I give myself a couple of weeks, I expect to be up and about and sort of like getting more of my sort of like normal quality of life back. So I can definitely see a bit of a silver lining to where things are going. So that's it, and I'll update you once I've seen the private hospital.